Hello YouTubers, Troz here, back playing more Satisfactory. And as you can hopefully see, I've done quite a bit more work. I have 2 additional floors compared to last time, and yeah, a lot more built. If things sound or look a little off, I'm recording differently, only because I want to share a bit of my desktop. So actually, let's do that now. Hopefully this works. So this is a Satisfactory map, and my first build base is over in this area. Actually, if I click on impure, these are the 2 nodes right outside my factory at the main area. This is the my first limestone mine, and this is my copper mine. And my factory kind of goes in this area here. And like this is the iron I pulled off a little later. The second limestone that I did. This is the coal I was taking. And this is the Caterium, only because this one's covered with rocks. Actually, if I say hide block ones, you can see that goes away. So now, oh yeah, the oil I picked up was over here, and I had the truck running all the way back, and my secondary oil is actually these up here. So now, this new factory, I'm right now standing maybe on this, but you know, this is the, I have this iron and this iron currently being mined. These 2 copper. This is the limestone out on the little pillar, and I'm basically have my factory going from here to maybe here. I have a mine on here just making some wire for use right now. This was the coal, or this is a coal I'm using. I'm not sure if I was using it at that point that I had it recorded last time, but this is the oil I have tapped mostly for power, and I had the 1 line of fuel coming up to my base. I've grown beyond that now. I had only 2 of these tapped previously. All of them are tapped now, and all of them are producing power except for the 1 line of fuel coming in. I've also tapped these coals over here. I'm combining 2 of them onto one 400. You know, these 2 are paired onto one Mark IV 450 per minute belt, and these 2 are done the same. They're coming over. I've also extended a power line all the way down to these 4 oils, and I'm producing power there as well. I believe I have over 6,000 megawatts, and all of that is for this plan. I am planning on producing in this episode 90 motors per minute. I was originally planning on doing 108/9. The reason being, 109 would use up a full 450 belt of copper and of iron. So basically half of what my smelting of last setup would do. So it would take 3, which is 1350 iron ingots per minute. The problem, you know, that works out nice. The problem is after that, things don't work out quite so nice. Most of this, oh, some of the iron would have to go to steel, but it would be less than half, and then the rest would have to go to wire, but I think it would be something like 1 2/5 would go to steel, and the rest would go to making wire because I have the iron wire recipe. Basically, the splitting of these iron would not be that nice. The second is that I kind of ran out of room. But I basically decided on, that doesn't work out too nice. But if I drop it to 90, the steel will then need 900 steel a minute. And that works out to be 1 450 Mark IV belt of iron ingots, and then 2 belts, 900 of coal. That's where tapping these came in. So I have these going to steel. The rest of it, though, whatever, we then need, subtract 450 off of this. More than 1 belt, but not quite 2 belts going to wire. So what I did is, instead of 44.4 constructors of wire, I just made 60 constructors for wire, and the excess wire I am just going to store. So that winds up being, well, the wire winds up complex. More complex than this leads you to believe. I'm using the normal stator recipe, but the improved rotor recipe, and this kind of works out because stators already need pipes and wire, and then this makes the rotors also need pipes and wire. In fact, they both use it at the exact same rate. It's just this one produces more per craft. But, this needs... they both need the same number of pipes per minute, which is 18, I believe, and 60 wire per minute, or something to that effect. Actually, if I remember correctly, the wire can feed 4.5 of these machines if you're shipping it on a 270 per minute Mark III belt. And you can fill a 270 Mark III belt with 4 of the alternate iron wire machines, because they make 67.5 per minute. So all the weird numbers mean that the wire builds work out best if you put them on Mark III belts, because you couldn't, it would give you, if you did 6 constructors, you get 405 a minute, and that doesn't quite fill a Mark IV belt, and then that becomes harder. It's like not an even fraction to split it off into machines. But on a, dropping it down to 4 constructors will fill exactly a Mark III belt, and that splits. You wind up with 4.5 machines being fed by that. So you could, with 2 belts, feed 9 machines perfectly. And yeah, it works out. Plus, this kind of just barely fit in the space I had. So going any higher, having more than 50 assemblers are wider than constructors. So I have, on my first level, 60 constructors in 2 rows, so 30 per row. But the assemblers don't fit at 30 per row. I barely fit 25 per row, but that worked out for 50. So, what does that look like in-game? Let's show. Yeah, so it's all hazy, but yeah, this is, I had most of this. You probably barely make it out, but I have 6 more fuel generators over here, and you can barely see the right in the center here the I don't know, exhaust stacks for the refineries that are making the fuel for them, because there is one more pump back there. I wasn't using that last time. I'm using it now. Let's get out of that. This way far away, that you could see that on the map, and way, well, not way beyond it, but just beyond that, which isn't rendering in at all because it is like 2 kilometers away, is those extra 4 oil spots. So I have 4 pumps, 8 refineries, and 24 fuel generators down there. I will not be going there to show, but I will briefly show off the coal, and then I'll show off the build here and turn it on. Let's throw on some blade runners, get there a little quicker. Ooh, it's still pretty hazy. Let's see how well. Oh, you can see the belt there. That's actually 2 belts for the coal. You just about make out the miners. There's 2 there. 1 there and 1 there. So together they're making, each pair is making 480 per minute. We're putting 450 on the belt because we don't have anything faster. So there's a slight bit of waste, but you know, not that big of a deal. Let's put the jetpack back on. So brief. This is the production floor? I don't know what you want to call it. But we have 18 assemblers in this last row, 2 groups of 9. That's what actually makes the motors. Here's the 50 assemblers, of which 30 are making stators and 20 are making the alternate recipe for rotors. And that makes both output 180 per minute. This is our 60 constructors making wire and putting them onto the Mark III belts. We have 8 belts. Yeah, there's 8 belts, 4 pairs coming this way, 6 pairs are going in the back and going like around the back corner. Actually, on that side, only 3 pairs? No, 2 pairs. 2 of the pair. Yeah, there's 6. 2 pairs are actually going around. Should be. Yeah, no, there's 2. Well, 3 of the belts are going into storage because, you know, we're producing way more wire than we need. I think it's about 3,600 a minute, and we only need 3,000. Basically, these 50, there's groups of 9, and then 5 extra. Each group of 9 is fed by 2 of these, well, a pair of copper wire belts. They're not made, they're iron wire belts, but whatever. one being fed in from one side, one being fed in from the other side. In fact, you can see like this one goes, and you can see it drops down, turns around, and then comes back this way for this 9. So the first 4 are fed only by one of the belts. The 5th one in the middle has 2 belts going in. Even better if I show it this way, huh? So this upper one is the wire. The belts are coming this way. These are all splitters. You can see it comes in here, out that way, and also out this way. But this one right here, this is a merger. So what should be half of the this needs 60 per minute. So we should be getting 30 on each side, and that will give us the 60 down here. So every group of 9 has that. The thing is that 9 times 5 is 45, so we have an additional 5. So we basically have one belt feeding 4, and then half coming to this one, and another belt feeding this one, but it's the only one it's feeding. So actually we have most of it, well, what should be most of it, split off and gone all the way back to the storage as well. So we basically have quite a few belts just of copper wire, going into storage. But to feed, well, the other half of this, we need pipe, and that is handled 1 floor down. So we'll get lag. We'll get 1 belt of iron from below, and 2 belts are being, sent up to feed the wire makers, and then 2 belts of coal. I actually had 3 belts of coal, and I was going to have a 4th when I was planning out the 108. Well, I would need 3 belts of coal for the 108. I actually have 40 foundries here, because that would handle a full 4 belts of coal and 2 belts of iron ingots, but that was before I scaled it back a little. So right now, I only need 2 belts of coal and 1 of iron ingots, because each of these, we're doing the alternate iron ingot. We need 3, basically twice the coal as we need iron ingots. So we have 10 here, because that's all 1 coal belt can supply, and I just realized I've never connected these up, but actually, this is good. I can show you how I've been connecting these up. So we have 1 belt of coal feeding the first 10, another belt of coal feeding the second 10, and that's where the coal and the iron ingots run out. And then in the future, I have 2 additional belts of coal and another belt, for iron ingots to go, another 2 belts of steel coming out. The steel will come out on the outside here, and over here. But these are then being directly turned around the corner and fed into a whole bunch of steel pipe makers, and there's 60 of these, because that's how much you need. So we have, these are being fed on the outside, and then we'll have 2 belts of 450 on the inside here. That goes up to the next level. And so how was I doing these? And let's hope I have the materials just barely. Let's real quick. I was thinking that this might be a 30-minute episode, but that's not going to happen. But it probably shouldn't be a whole hour episode, but we'll see how things go. Yeah, this is my production area. I showed you last time. It's probably a bit bigger. I think it definitely is, actually. It's one more of these, and then we'll get a few more cable. I think I had some steel production, but now I'm actually down here producing quite a number of pipes, and then turning those into the alternate reinforced steel beams. We'll get 2 of those, because these are used for making the Mark IV belts. Actually, while I'm here, I shouldn't really need these, but these, you know, just the steel ingots are for the Mark III belts. But what I really came down for, well, is the iron plates and cable we're going to need to make the splitters. Yeah, just I think everything's hooked up power-wise. Speaking of power-wise, just over 6,000 megawatts, and I mean, we're using less than 300, and that's probably only because I, you know, just took stuff and it's building to refill. So let's take this belt back, or mostly back. Lag. Could actually even fit in some more foundries here, but I don't think we can do another 10, but we could get at least another 5, which would be half a belt of ingots and a full belt of coal. If we could get a full belt of coal up here still. I'm gonna start at this end, but it's not really difficult. Just let me check. 40. Perfect. So, you got your splitter here, and if you're, you know, place it, it's just going to place, but if you're careful and you look at the kind of the top end of the belt, you can see it snaps, and if I look left and right, it's going along the belt. That's how you know you're snapping it to the belt and not just placing it on the floor, you know, intersecting with the belt. Like this is not going to split stuff on that belt, but if I look and if I move sideways and it's moving along the belt, that's when you know you're gonna split the belt. So I'll do a low one for that side and a high one for this side, and basically I'm looking at this far arrow and, you know, making sure these are lined up, and if I did everything right, that will go in perfectly. The floor one shouldn't matter too much. It will snake or curve a little. The upper one, if it's off by more than, you know, a few inches, it's going to give you an invalid shape error. So you have to make sure that one's lined up pretty good, but the floor one, not too rough. So I'll just go through here. That's not on the belt. That is. And we'll get this done relatively quickly, hopefully. I even went through and checked, okay, does everything have power? Does everything have the right recipe selected. There was quite a few that didn't have the recipe selected that I had to set, but I didn't realize I had not yet set the splitters on these. At least for the inputs, I did make sure all the outputs were hooked up. Alright, this should be the last one. I find being above helps with the placement of the belts. Let's see the other side before. Because these belts are here, these are hidden a bit. Here, there. And yeah, these two belts are just the coal belts for the other half that isn't being used yet. This was the back half though. Have the front half. You know, this looks, well, I won't say it's relatively quick, but you know, it hasn't taken me too long. It's just like I had to place all the lag these and make sure that they had enough space, and then like how many do we need and everything like that. That's what took some time. Actually, right at this moment, it doesn't matter which way I'm connecting these. I usually do try to go from source to destination, but it's smart and knows that, okay, that's going in, and that's an out. So it has the belt going in the correct direction anyway. And there we go. That should be everything, and all these guys have yellow, which means they have power, they just don't have items to process. Let's get them those items. Yeah, so there's my one coal. That's actually a pure node. There is supposed to be another limestone. I think that may be it, but it's covered with a rock. I went too far down, didn't I? So here's the two coal belts from far out, and they're heading over here. And I'm splitting off this coal. This is the coal going to my temporary production. You can see it's being used periodically, but not that much. I don't think that's the one that's hooked up either. Or will be hooked up to my current setup. Let's get the Mark IV belt. So all we really need to do, I don't want to do this low one. I want to use these, and I'll move them correct spots if they're not the right ones. Alright, and then we'll hit this jump pad and hopefully keep hitting. Oop. I flew just over this one. And, well, let's just fly up here. Oh, we need to move these belts. Because I changed, well, not really changed my mind, but I just, well, things worked out better by having them connect up here. Alright, where's my coal? Here's my coal. Here's my iron. Oh, I need there. How are we doing on power? Alright, we increased. There, but not quite yet. I don't, well. Okay. You can see these are outputting. 100% efficient. Great. We just have to... Down here we won't be, though, because, again, it's set up so everything has to back up. You're, yeah, only 50% efficient. So you're waiting for the previous guys to back up, but it will start getting there. And lag again. I think that's when it's making the autosaves. But then, alright, we got this line is coming around, and we'll be feeding this side, and the far side there coming around and feeding that far side. You can see it's pretty good. Yeah, so we have a belt here. Oh, and here comes the first on the next belt, which means some iron, or steel, it's steel, is now getting past the halfway point, because the first half is filling up the bottom, and then the second half back 60. Not sure how some did, because like this, again, this is not quite as efficient as it should be, because the first one is going to take, you know, first ones here, they're going to take until they back up, and you know, it's not backed up yet. Are just about backed up. Only on ingots they are. They're just about on the coal. I mean, maybe you can consider this backed up on the coal because it's not. It's hitting 100 and then dropping down. You've backed up now. Alright, so that should be helping out now. That guy's been backed up because you can see he's not moving constantly in. So very shortly, this should be producing at full capacity of 900 a minute. this one is barely getting at production rate at this point, so still got a ways to go to get everybody backed up. But so far so good. What is power looking like? Hitting 800, but we got a good ceiling to go. I don't know actually how much power this is supposed to use. There are a few calculators that will tell you that, but I didn't use one of them. Yeah, I have slower belts where that is warranted. You know, after after this far, you don't need to be transporting. You know, you can transport 270 per minute and still supply all the remaining ones. Because each of these only needs 15. Assuming the earlier ones weren't taking them all. I am using, you know, the Mark 1 belts, but that will still give 4 times the amount per minute than this can actually process. Alright. Actually hoping this would back up a little faster than it is. Let's lag again. There we go. Are all these Alright, this is backed up on coal. I guess I can see why that would be, because these all got a fresh, like this is the second on the second belt of coal, so they all got the coal before they got the iron ingots. Look at this. That's interesting that we're not actually smelting at full rate yet, but again, that's... You're backed up on ingots, so the other side is too. So, alright, he's almost backed up on ingots, so it's gonna take a good few more minutes, at least 5, before this gets all backed up and producing at the highest rate that it can. Alright. Alright, we're starting to get some on this. Alright, the first 2 are producing, and it looks like a few actually beyond that as well. I might want to balance these belts, but there's no real easy way to do that for now until everything backs up and then it's balancing itself that way. So let's just proceed then. Although if I do take from here these are going to start taking again instead of being all backed up. Like, this is totally backed, like, the input and the output is backed up. But if, you know, we start taking from the output, the input's going to start feeding and it's not going to back up that way. Although, this is starting to do pretty good. There's not many gaps. Well, there's a bigger gap, but that means most of these are producing. Actually, it looks like we're starting to do pretty good. Alright, I will wait another few minutes. We can examine down here. I think once the pipes do back up to, like, this point, we can pretty much continue on. Although I would like this to completely back up before we, you know, at least the input, before we move too far on. Because once I start taking from this first belt, then a lot less materials are going to come down here. So, yeah. How did that one get on and yet those... Yeah, this should be getting half the materials, making it to this point. So 225 out of its 270 per minute capacity. Oh, it's about halfway to backed up, and this is filling up as well. All right. This isn't going to be at full throughput for a while. Alright, let's continue at this point. Otherwise, yeah, this is never, well, not that it's never going to finish. Otherwise, this will go beyond my usual episode length, because we still have like 3 more stages to go. But these are, I'll say, the most important, but they're pretty good. In fact, let's just look at the next stage without connecting the rest of that up. So there's our one belt feeding our smelters, or iron or steel foundries. Yeah, okay. The other 2 belts come up right here, and this is going to feed our iron wire production. So let's figure a way to kick that on. All right, that's. That's what I want. We'll put that there. I found if you press the move keys too quickly after selecting a belt type, it unselects the belt type. Alright, we can supply that without issue. That's actually why these are going up here, besides this belt, which that is going to be our pipes, one of our pipes, and then our other pipe is here going over to that side. Let's let those back up for a bit. let's supply our wire production. Let's actually have this come out just a little, because if we need to turn belts up here, I don't want them intersecting in the future. You're going there. You're going here. Similar things, but these should... Well, they won't back up any quicker. They still need 15 per. But yeah, here's the... Actually, it's dark again. These are the Mark III belts, and I have 4 each going into a Mark III belt. So these should fill up a lot quicker. Especially because, yeah, none of them should be... Well, none of the ones on this side should be completely hooked up. I think I have the ones on the back side hooked up. But in theory, all of these belts should get backed up relatively quickly, because they're the first half. The second half, the iron has to make it down there for. Looks like we're getting another belt on this side now. Yeah, there's 2 belts on the left and the right, and there's 4 vertically in the center here. And another bit of lag. Let's see how far it's gotten. And like this, yeah, these are now, looks like they're completely backed. No, not completely. I thought they were yellow, but they are still green. They should turn back yellow in a minute once they get all completely backed up. Yeah, it looks like we haven't made it quite this far with our materials yet. I would think they would, though, because you would think, you know, alright, every other one, and then, you know, it's not even that half should come here. You can't even fit. You know, if you have more than 60-second coming in, you would think you would have to put some extra out the forward way. Although here does come some. Yeah, this is 15 up to there, and we need 15 pairs. We need actually 16 pairs to make 8 belts, so we got a break here, and the first pair also goes forward here on this side, but then all the rest here go back, and several of the belts, 3 of the belts go right into storage containers, because we're producing more than we need. I would think this would go straight. Okay. That should be the first amount going back. I'm not sure whether, though, that this is one that goes into storage or if that gets turned around the corner here for the back half of these. But yeah, we're starting to get pretty backed up here. Definitely there's more coming in here than it's using, but it's not quite, you know, fully backed up. Neither is this one. Apparently it takes more time than I expected for these to back up. That's just about backed up in a minute or so. Alright. I hope to only have about 10 minutes left in this, so let's start hooking things up. Let's begin with our pipes, because these now should be pretty much backed up. In fact, you can see it's only moving occasionally, which means only just a few are still taking materials in. So these two right here should be our pipes. Actually, at this point, well, I'll put it on 3. Go. So our pipes are now beginning to fill our stator and rotor production. The stators are this whole row of 25, and then 5 more in the back, and they'll output on this belt. Then we have 20 belts producing rotors, and they're going to output on that belt. But they all need wires. Wow, that is a lot of wire. So, even though our wire is still trying to back up, I think it's about time we hook things up if we want to finish this episode. So, I'll have to be a bit careful here to hook everything to the right belt. As I said, I have to be careful. See, these are feeding in, and then, ooh. Yeah. Things are getting quite framey here. But you can see we have this other belt now coming in, dropping down, turning around, and then going this way. And they all meet in the middle, as I showed earlier. Alright, so we are producing here. Maybe not quickly, but it's producing. There, you can see. Let's check the far end to see if I need to hook those belts up as well. And it looks like... looks like I should be watching my jetpack as well. Okay, so one of the first belts are going directly into here, but these are all connected. So I just have to connect up some on the other side. These never got pipes, though. I'm sure that just has to deal with backing up. Yeah, because this is all connected still. Alright, we need to connect up the wire on this side. These pipes look... well, no, they're not all backed up. But, you know, they're trying their best. Yeah, so we have 4 more belts of Mark III belts on this side. If I just see, oh yeah, you can see we have our stator belt here. That's also a Mark III belt, even though no, it needs a Mark III. A Mark II would be 120. Yeah, you go straight across to there, and then you go straight across to there. You go straight across to there, and you go straight across to there. Yeah, figuring out the logistics for this was quite an issue. So this one is going to be fed more than it should be, and the excess should be now going off on this top, and that goes all the way over to those storage chests. But now we should be making rotors, and at 9 per minute and 20 of these, that's 180 per minute. These stators should be being made at 6 per minute times 30, also 180 a minute. And while this is framey, it's playable for various quantities of playable, and I realize we are going to go a bit over time. I was hoping these wouldn't take as long as they do to back up, but you know, it's my first time really testing this build, so here we have stators and rotors, and we have bad lag again, just for a second or two, and we have 2 belts here feeding these machines. On these stator and rotor production, probably should back up quite a bit faster, because the belts are supplying less machines each, so it should take less time for each to back up. And yeah, wow. This is, I don't know, at least to me, quite impressive at 90 per minute. I can't imagine what 108 would look, well, I mean, I guess I can, but, you know, good 15% more than this or so. Alright, let's, well, the stators have been sitting longer. Let's hook the stators up first. Here we go with motor production. And here comes the motors. Yeah, actually, because these belts here are faster than these belts here, the ones further down are going to get output first. Yeah, we're... Well, when I'm not flying, it's maybe 30 frames per second. Unfortunately, I don't have a frame counter at the moment. My normal recording program does have one. I'm using a different one just so I could capture that desktop shot before at the same time. Yeah, so our materials aren't making it quite down this far yet. But, yeah, here we go. We're gonna... Just need one more rotor. comes down the pipe, gets here. And that should come in here. Yeah, so this is Mark 1 belt up into here. I switched to Mark 2 belts because that should be making 45 per minute. But by the end, we're over, 60, so the Mark 1 belt can only take 60. So this should be 45. Then I've upgraded to Mark 2. That holds 120, which will be plenty for the 90 that this will eventually reach once everybody's producing at the highest levels. How are... Alright, you're backed up. On your pipes, but you're not getting your wire. But you do have first pick of your of the wire. But that tells me that not all of our wire input is backed up yet. You're pretty good though, but I bet he's getting fed by like the last group down here, which isn't getting all of its needed iron. So, you're getting a little more than you need, but not quite. You basically, the ends here kind of get shortchanged until everything is backed up, and that doesn't happen until really everything is backed up. Alright. Why do you only have 36? Are you literally the I think, yeah, this is literally the last group of 4. This is all the overflow from that first group, and I actually have that going into a smaller container, which may not have been wise. And you can see how fast this is filling up. That both of these should be filling up at nearly 90 a minute, and, actually more than that, 270 a minute. Yeah, here you can see these still have a little bit of gaps, and the bottom one even more so. I mean, I probably should have been routing these into here, and these. By doing this, we're gonna let the machines that are supplying these back up and stop, and that will push more iron down towards these later machines. It'll take a few minutes though, but that will help our rates just until, everything's caught up. Interesting that's oh no, that's from the very first going into that smaller, yeah, the 5 where we weren't really using a lot of it. So how are we doing here? It's probably not even at 45 a minute yet, but that's not a bad number of motors. I think I was only making 5 per minute in my original base, which is still way over there. Actually, that's the one cool thing. When the sun does move over there, the space elevator casts a shadow that moves across this whole platform. But, yeah. So not perfect. Like, you can see these... Well, this one's producing at a decent rate, but... He's barely had enough to continue. Okay, this is like the middle one. Yeah, so you can see he's getting some from the one side, but not yet from the, or not as much from the other, where it should be feeding evenly from both sides. So he's doing better than, let's say, this guy. Okay. I'm not doing that well right now, because you can see actually I'm out of fuel. So gonna need to stock up on fuel. But I think I'm gonna call it here. Not quite yet to the rates, but you know, I built everything out with the right numbers. So once everything, you know, I'm not splitting evenly, because setting up the splitters to split a belt, you know, 30 ways, that would just take way too much room to evenly split 30 ways. So the way I've set everything up, it has to back up, and that takes time, you know, because you got to fill, you know, for the first 15 machines, you have to wait till 1,500 things are pulled in to get the full rate on the 16th machine, and you know, and then by the time you get down to the 30th machine, it's just that much longer. But you know, that it's a lot more space efficient. But you know, even if we're getting only one stack a minute here, that's quite, you know, a lot faster. And by the time this is halfway filled, all of these machines should be backed up and putting out at their maximum rate. In fact, you can see the pipes are all backed up, and that's great. It's just the copper wire that we're now waiting. You can see it's not all going at its best rate. But hopefully now, with the excess not being thrown into a chest, that those machines will back up and pass on their stuff quicker. Well, we won't get to see the shadow come across, but I like to say thanks for watching. I'll see you next time, where hopefully we'll be doing heavy modular frames. I'll see you then.